Well, I've eaten some breakfast, a little sharper. Yes, that's correct. I did some videos before I even eat breakfast in the morning. On a Sunday. Easter Sunday, nonetheless. We are back with Harry's Burn. Harry had a good day training. Harry always tries to take it a little easy. You can see the 2-year-olds are always in the middle of the pack. They're not stretched out, and they're doing fine. So let's start with, that's just the way Harry is. And that's good. It's important that we have a variety and a wide array of different types of trainers that have different types of strengths. The horses that I think need to be trained very, very hard and kept on a tight schedule, Kevin gets them most of the time. Mario gets the horses that are kind of doing their work well and are going to suit him at Mohawk and around the Mohawk area. I don't want to give Mario a bunch of horses that could be suited to be racing anywhere, right? Because Mario's going to be driving at Mohawk also for his brother and for other people he still drives for. So I'd like to give him some horses that are hopefully going to race around Mohawk if I could. Having said that, Jason's put a lot of work in. I think Jason deserves a lot of credit. Runs an extremely tight ship, and it really is an effective trainer. So I want to spread the horses around everywhere. Harry gets a lot of the horses that are hotter that we're trying to keep quiet and keep on a stress-free schedule, and that is why Harry ends up with horses like Jesse Balboa. I own most of, and I gave him to Harry because I wanted him cared for, and I thought that he was on the straight and narrow, but needed to be on a little easier training regiment. So that's why the horse went to Harry. Rito Sunshine, I thought, was training really hard at the time. Looked like the corks were hurting him a little bit, so I gave him to Harry so he could back him off and go easy with him. It kind of worked against me a little bit with Captain's Maid, who's been going pretty easy. Now, he trained her pretty hard 2 weeks ago, so that was impressive. And then the other guy who's not on this list, Surreal Love, is not on Harry's list. What's going on there? Surreal Love, I worked real hard for about 2-3 weeks in the winter, and Harry and I are on the same page with this guy. I think he's going to be a very nice colt. I think he does his work really well. We just got to keep him contained, whereas I will stretch them out sometimes. Harry wants to keep them going easy. So I know when you guys watch them train, sometimes when Danny or Harry stay at the back and go easy with them, and then I say, oh, Harry said he was good, and you're like, well, the horse was like 7th in the training set. It doesn't matter. At the same time, I know Surreal Love can go lots. I know Captain's Maid can go lots. Look at the last 2 times I went with both those horses, and I worked them hard. But I worked them like a driver would work them, and they can't always do that. And that's, you guys have probably figured that out now. There's some horses that I don't want to go with all the time because they don't need to be in overdrive every training set, and some of them do. Some of them do need to be on the straight and narrow. So I myself keep myself away from some horses also that don't need to be going like that every single week. So let's get right down to it. Harry's Barn, Arctic Force just come back from Florida. He didn't train yesterday. Obviously, somebody said, well, Knockdown Drago trained. She came from Pennsylvania. I'm a little geographically, I don't want to say the wrong word. I don't know the mileage between Pennsylvania and Florida, but I know it's a long way. And coming from a place that's hot to Canada, coming from all the way from Florida to Canada, let alone that long ship and how tiring it is on you and everything that's going on in the world, there just didn't make much sense in pushing the horses. Now, the ship from Aki's farm to here was 7 hours. It's quite a bit longer from Florida, not to mention the climate. So Arctic Force and Really Blue Chip did not train at all yesterday, but they'll be on the straight and narrow come Wednesday. So Arctic Force had trained in 158 before he left Florida. He'll be on a similar schedule as, I guess, Watch Ev type thing. Not even so much. Watch Ev was racing. This horse hasn't raced since last year. He was ready to start racing, ready to qualify. So I guess Arctic Force, we'll probably train him next week and see how he is. Now that's the other thing, is I don't want Arctic Force training on a half-mile track hard. So you're going to see a few 212, 215 miles. He won't be going in the 210 speed. So if you're looking for a flashy mile at a Arctic Force, you're going to have to wait till COVID-19 cools down to see him at Mohawk, because I'm not going to jeopardize his soundness in going there. And somebody else said, well, why didn't you just leave him with Doug Brown then? Doug Brown's in Canada also. He didn't stay in Florida. So Arctic Force is back with us. He'll start training quietly on Wednesday, and then maybe another trip back 15 or so on Saturday. Beach Boutique's another giant filly that I don't want on a half-mile track that hard. Harry said she was leaking in the turns the other day, so we didn't train her on Saturday and might not train her next Saturday either. By not train her, I mean not train her in a set under drone. Train her by herself in 220, keep her low stress and moving forward. That'll be fine. Cabernet, we talked about, sorry, I skipped Beach Bum BB. Beach Bum BB, same thing. A lot of like Trafalgar, lots of speed. You can see me fighting with her in that training mile last week. We don't want that. We don't want the horses to be fought with that way. I guess the easiest solution could be give her a little ace in her feed also. But right now we'll just train her by herself for a couple of weeks. She doesn't need to be training in sets. She understands what she's supposed to do. She's just a little grabby sometimes. Cabernet, we said, had a little shadow on her pasture, and she's gonna get 6 to 8 weeks in the stall. Not a big deal. I guess this is a time to have it. It's a big deal in the fact we don't want to see it, but I suspect that roughness that they saw on there always played a role. She always wore that gate and strap and leaked in a little bit, which makes that part of the bone a little less dense anyway, and prone to injury. So it's important that we nip this in the bud right now. There might have been something bothering her there for a while, and it escalated to a little shadow. Obviously, you can see where that escalation would lead to: a crack, a fracture. And when you're talking about P1 fractures, now you're talking about potential screws. I'm glad we caught it when we did, because it could have been a real problem for Cabernet. Capistrano trained great yesterday. She physically looks better every single time she goes. I thought she looked great yesterday. Captain's Maid was a little bit at the back. We were smoking pretty good on the end of it. It's hard to make up ground, as I said to anybody, from the head of the lane to the wire, from the 3/4 pole to the wire. When we're starting to step on it, it's really hard for anybody to make up any significant ground, and I was happy that Captain's Maid stayed right with it. Harry said she was better yesterday. The week before, on the right line a little bit. We're going to see her bounce back and forth on that right line, on that left shaft, I think, as she gets a little stronger in that right hind ankle where we took an OCD out. But she looks good to me. Excellent Nation trained good yesterday. Yeah, you beat by 2-year-olds, but Harry just wanted to go around with them, and I'm glad he did. You just need a little bit of a workout. He'll probably train in 215 by himself next Saturday. He's not ready to go in a set with a little bit of speed attached to it. Usually, it seems like lately anyway, when we say 215, we find a way to get to 212 or 213, which isn't a big deal, but it's 10 lengths. And I'd like to see Excellent Nation train by himself next week, 215. So before anybody says, where's he at this week? That's why he's not in that set. Giddy Up Max was good. Kind of ruined set number 2, but at the same time, I guess a good confidence builder for him, if nothing else. He'll probably train in a set of 3-year-olds next Saturday. He may actually miss next Saturday. There's another horse that trained in 57 and then has trained 2 or 3 times since. He may actually go a light mile by himself next Saturday. Harness AM was very, very good yesterday. I talked about how good Path of Totality was and Bottle of Red. Harness AM was coming to them behind them. So she was trotting a huge last quarter also. Harry said she was fantastic this week. Jesse Balboa, he had hit himself left front 2 weeks ago. So we just took the time. We had it ultrasounded. There's nothing there. And the swelling has come out. The heat has come out. So I suspect he'll start training by himself this week. He'll likely be in a set maybe Saturday, one of those softer sets. We'll see. Just for me and you, train by herself, train fine. Just a little relaxing week for her. Muscle Chrome was better this week. I thought she looked great training. She looked very good. Rito Sunshine was better again. Looked a little more fluid. Still looks a little choppy, but a little more fluid. Did a lot more work. Didn't make any breaks. I was happy with Rito Sunshine. Sunshine's Finest just went a slow mile by himself yesterday. That's fine. Surreal Love finished up a little bit behind everybody. We were smoking along pretty good, and he did all he wanted. There's a horse that has got a great attitude, understands his job. I don't want him pushed. As we said to Harry, the sounder we can keep him, happier we can keep him. I think we'll have a good horse in the summer. This horse is a nice horse, and I've showed you guys that a couple of times when I was going with him in the winter. I worked him real hard, and he looked great. Trafalgar trained good by herself. Just an easy time for her right now. And then White Tiger's going to be out in the field for another 3-4 weeks. I'll be back in just a minute with Kevin's Barn.